The first priority for slot allocation is the establishment of historic slots. An airline will receive priority in slot allocation if it operated at least 80% of the slots allocated to it during the previous equivalent season. Failure to operate 80% of the slots allocated to an airline will result in the forfeiture of these slots in the next scheduling season. The slot will return to the pool. The 80% rule, also called the use it or lose it calculation, has been established to ensure the total use of the available capacity of an airport. It also eliminates the possibility of an airline boarding slots and thus denying another airline the opportunity to operate. This rule is a core element in the management of slots at an airport and is recognized by airlines and regulators as an effective tool to ensure the optimal use of airport capacity. If an airline wishes to modify historic slots, changes to a historic slot should have priority over new requests for the same slot within the capacity available. Once historic slots and changes to historic slots have been allocated, the coordinator will establish a slot pool of available slots, including any newly created slots. Slots available in the pool are allocated to airlines requesting a slot, using the criteria set out in the IATA WSG. 50% of the slots contained in the pool must be allocated to new entrants. New entrant status definition may vary according to local rule or government decrees. Three priority elements are taken into account to allocate the slots. Primary key: 1. A series of scheduled services. 2. Ad hoc services. 3. Other operations. Secondary key: 1. Historic slots. 2. Changes to historic slots. 3. Slot pool: 50% historic operators, 50% new entrants. 4. Introduction of year-round operations to extend existing operations to operate on a year-round basis. Third key: 1. Period of operation. The longer period has priority over a shorter duration. 2. Type of service. Priority is given to scheduled passenger flights before charter flights and cargo. 3. Competition. Allocation of slots must allow competition on the airport. 4. Frequency of operation. Priority is given to daily flights versus weekly operations. Local guidelines may apply if local rules exist. The slot allocation process allows airlines to build their whole schedule several months in advance. Slots are granted for an aeronautical season, summer or winter. In preparation for each season, airlines have to apply for the slot they need to each airport coordinator. Slots can be requested for the whole season or shorter period. In any case, an airline must have a slot allocated to it before operating at a Level 3 airport, excepted for certain types of flights as humanitarian or state flights. In order to follow the annual variations of demand, IATA implemented 2 aeronautical seasons. Summer is the peak season in the northern countries, USA, Europe, and Japan. The IATA summer season starts the last Sunday of March and ends the last Saturday of October. Winter is the slack season. IATA winter season starts the last Sunday of October and ends the last Saturday of March of the following year. Slot allocation is established for each season. It means historical precedence is calculated with flights operated during last summer for the upcoming summer and last winter for the upcoming winter. Historical precedence and pool distribution are both made with series of slots. At the first stage of the coordination process, no isolated slot can be requested nor granted. Consequently, it is strategically important that the airlines build a stable schedule so that they can request a maximum of slots within series. Ad hoc flights will be coordinated after series. Priority rules do not apply for ad hoc flights. Once slots have been allocated by the coordinator to the airlines, slots can be freely transferred, exchanged, or shared. 1. Transfer. An airline can transfer slots to another airline, but only a few countries authorize airlines to sell or buy slots to each other. 2. Exchange. Exchanges of slots between airlines are authorized. The slot conferences, see slot coordination process, is the main place to discuss that kind of exchange. 3. Share. In case of code share flights operated by two airlines, a slot can be used by both airlines using the same flight designator. There are two possibilities for an airline to acquire a slot. 1. To operate regular flights at Level 1 or Level 2 airport that is becoming Level 3. 2. To request new slots from a slot pool. Implementation of Level 3 coordination. Establishment of historic slots. Level 3 status is considered the last resort in addressing an airport's infrastructure and capacity constraints. The allocation of slots to an airline requires adherence to an objective set of criteria and rules. If the airport was Level 2, this determination is based on the records held by the airport facilitator of both planned and operated schedules for the previous equivalent season. The coordinator of the newly designated Level 3 airport will compare the planned schedules with the record of services operated to determine the slots allocated to the airline. This action establishes the basis for ongoing schedule coordination at an airport and the management of the airport's slots and slot pool, and an airline slot portfolio. If an airline does not have historic slots on an already coordinated airport or wants to add slots to its existing portfolio, it may request slots from the slot pool. 50% of the slots from the pool will be distributed to historical airlines already holding slots at the airport. Historical operators may extend period of historical series, add frequency, request fully new slots. 50% will be distributed to new entrants that want to start new operations. Each year, IATA publishes the Slot Activities Calendar, which includes all the deadlines to be respected by airlines and coordinators. Six months before the start of the season, coordinators send to the airlines the list of the historical slots, SHL, they can request. This list must include all series of slots that have been operated at least 80% of the initially allocated period. If a series was granted for several days of week, the percentage of use is calculated for each day. Example 1. A series was granted for every day on the whole season, but the airline never operated on Wednesday. The SHL must include this series excluding Wednesday. Example 2. A series was granted on Monday during 20 weeks. If the airline operated the flight at least 16 times within the period, this series must be included in the SHL. Airlines must acknowledge reception of SHL to the coordinators and advise it in case of any discrepancy. "24 days after the SHL distribution deadline, airlines must have applied for all the slots they will need during the next season. They can only apply for a series. This step is the most important of all the coordination process, as it allows airlines' requests to be treated through the WSG priority rules. Airlines must submit requests for 1. Renewal of historical slots, 2. Change of historical slots, 3. Extension or reduction of periods of operation, 4. New slots. To be noted, allocation of historical slots shown in the SHL is not automatic. Airlines must apply to the coordinators in order to get historical slots. The Slot Allocation List, SAL, is sent by the coordinators to the airlines 3 weeks after the submission deadline. In case the coordinators cannot grant all the slots an airline requested, they must indicate the reason and make an alternative offer if possible.